The twin suns of Veles Prime burned gently above the royal palace, their golden light falling across crystal towers and silver bridges. The city of Lurien shimmered like a jewel, floating high above the clouds. From her balcony, Princess Leora Velician watched the skyships move between the towers and thought only of one thing: humans. Her people had never forgotten the Orion conflict, the war that ended just 10 years ago. Thousands of Velicians had fallen, and the blame had always pointed toward Earth. Leora was a child then, but the memories of fear and sorrow were carved into her heart. Every teacher, every noble, every piece of history told her the same thing: humans cannot be trusted. Now her father, the great King Arion Velician, wanted peace. He had signed an agreement with the Terran Alliance to join their strength and form a new council of planets. The plan was to bring both species together through trade, science, and even marriage alliances. Leora hated the idea. To her, a union with humans was not peace, it was surrender. When the morning sun turned white, the royal courtyard filled with guards, diplomats, and curious citizens. The air shimmered as a human shuttle descended from orbit. Leora stood beside her father in the council, her violet eyes cold as glass. The ship's door opened with a hiss, and the Terran delegation stepped out. The first figure was a tall man in silver armor, Captain Aaron Holt, leader of the security team. His uniform was plain compared to Velician robes, but he carried himself with calm strength. Behind him walked scientists, ambassadors, and aides, all looking around in quiet awe. Aaron saluted the king respectfully. "Your Majesty, on behalf of Earth and the Terran Alliance, thank you for your welcome. We hope this visit begins a lasting friendship." King Arion smiled warmly, his long silver robe shining in the sun. "Let it be so, Captain Holt. You are welcome on Veles." Leora stayed silent. Her heart was beating fast, not from fear but anger. She studied Aaron's face and saw no hatred, no arrogance. That almost made her more uncomfortable. She wanted to see an enemy, but he looked only human. That evening, a grand dinner was held in the Hall of Harmony, a great dome made of living crystal that changed color with sound. Music floated through the air like water. The humans sat at one end, the Velicians at the other, separated by formality and mistrust. Aaron sat quietly, observing the alien beauty around him. Leora watched him from across the table. His face was serious yet kind. When he noticed her glance, he nodded politely. She quickly looked away. Later, as the meeting ended, Aaron approached her father to thank him. When Leora's turn came, she greeted him stiffly. "Captain Holt," she said, her voice cool. "I hope your stay will not bring trouble." Aaron smiled slightly. "I will do my best to make sure it doesn't, Princess." His tone was calm, but his eyes showed a quiet confidence. For a moment, she felt unsure of herself. 2 days passed. The Terran envoys explored the city, studying Velician technology. Aaron and his small team guarded them closely, always alert. Leora continued her royal duties, but she often saw the humans in the palace halls. One afternoon, as she walked through the Garden of Winds, she found Aaron standing alone near a waterfall of glowing mist. He seemed deep in thought. "Captain," she said carefully, "are you enjoying your visit?" He turned. "It's beautiful here. Your world feels alive." "It is alive," she replied proudly. "Every tree here has memory. Every stone can record the past. Veles remembers all things." Aaron looked impressed. "That's a gift. On Earth, we only have stories and scars." Leora's expression softened for a second. "Scars are reminders of mistakes," he nodded. "Or of lessons learned." His words stayed in her mind long after he left. That night, an alarm rang through the palace. The sky outside flashed red. A drone exploded near the main power spire, and energy lights flickered across the city. Guards ran in every direction. Leora rushed to the control room where her father was giving orders. "Sabotage," said the general. "A group tried to destroy the treaty archives. Unknown infiltrators." Aaron and his team arrived moments later, helmets on, scanners glowing. "Permission to assist, Majesty," he said. King Arion nodded. "Do what you can, Captain." Leora didn't like it, but there was no time to argue. She joined the group heading to the lower towers. The corridors below the palace were narrow and dim, lined with crystal conduits. Leora moved fast with her guards, following the sound of energy discharges. They turned a corner and found 2 masked figures planting a device near a reactor gate. Before anyone could react, One saboteur threw a flash charge. Leora shielded her eyes as the explosion of light and sound filled the hall. When her vision cleared, one of the attackers aimed a plasma cutter directly at her. A blur of motion came from the side. Aaron lunged forward, tackling the attacker to the ground. The weapon fired, scorching the wall inches from Leora's face. The second saboteur fled down the passage, pursued by Velesian guards. Aaron stood breathing hard, his armor blackened at the shoulder. "Are you hurt, Princess?" he asked. Leora shook her head, still in shock. You saved me." He gave a small shrug. Reflex. For the first time, she saw not a soldier of an enemy species, but a man who risked himself without hesitation. Later, after the danger passed, the council gathered to discuss the attack. Evidence suggested that Velesian extremists were behind it, those who believed that uniting with humans would destroy their culture. Leora listened silently as her father spoke with Earth's ambassador. Her mind was spinning. She wanted to be angry at the humans, but this time the danger had come from her own people. After the meeting, she found Aaron in the courtyard, repairing a cracked section of his armor. The night air was cool and the stars above looked close enough to touch. "Captain," she said softly, "I misjudged you." He looked up. "Many people do, Princess. We all have old fears." She hesitated. "My people see humans as violent and selfish. But you risked your life for me without knowing who I truly am." Aaron smiled faintly. "Maybe that's what peace looks like. Doing what's right even when we don't fully understand each other." She stared at him for a moment, her heart uncertain. The idea was new, fragile, and frightening. The next morning, the city returned to calm, but whispers filled every corridor. Some citizens blamed the humans for the attack. Others praised Aaron's bravery. Leora walked through the markets in disguise, listening. She heard one elder say, "If a human can bleed for us, perhaps we can see them differently." Back at the palace, she stood again on her balcony. The twin suns rose higher, painting the sky with fire. Somewhere below, the human captain was working with her guards, restoring the damaged systems. For the first time in her life, Leora wondered if maybe, just maybe, humans were not monsters. Perhaps they were simply flawed like her own people, but deep inside she also felt something she could not explain. Curiosity, mixed with a strange warmth, and that frightened her more than war ever had. The days after the palace attack were filled with tension. Velis Prime still looked beautiful from above, the silver clouds, the glowing towers, but inside the hearts of its people, there was unrest. Whispers of betrayal spread like smoke. Some said humans had planted the bombs. Others said the extremists were only pretending to be Velesians to frame Earth. Princess Leora heard the rumors every day. As she walked through the halls, servants lowered their voices. Council members argued behind closed doors. The peace that her father had worked for now stood on fragile ground. Captain Aaron Holt, the human soldier who had saved her life, remained calm through it all. His small Terran team helped with repairs and shared their reports with Velesian guards. Leora often found him working late, studying recordings of the attack. One evening, she entered the command chamber where holographic maps glowed in the air. Aaron stood beside a floating image of the city. His expression was serious. "What have you found?" she asked. Aaron pointed at the map. "These energy readings are from the palace tunnels. The power surge came from inside your security network. Someone from the palace had access codes." Leora frowned. "You mean someone close to us?" "Yes," he said quietly. "Someone who doesn't want peace." She stared at the glowing lines. "That cannot be. My father's counsel is loyal." Aaron looked at her gently. "I've fought in enough wars to know betrayal rarely comes from strangers." His words made her chest tighten. She didn't want to believe him, but something inside told her he was right. The next morning, Leora requested a private audience with her father. King Arian Velesian listened patiently as she explained Aaron's discovery. His calm face showed no fear, but his hands tightened on the armrest of his crystal throne. "I will order an internal investigation," he said. "But be careful, Leora. If word spreads that the palace is divided, the treaty will fall apart." Leora bowed her head. "Yes, father." When she left the chamber, Aaron was waiting in the corridor. "What did he say?" he asked. "He will investigate quietly," she replied. "But we must be discreet." Aaron nodded. "Then we start with what we can see." For the next few days, Leora and Aaron worked together in secret. They followed traces of energy, records of access, and patterns of movement. Leora used her royal clearance to enter places forbidden to outsiders. Aaron used his soldier's instincts to notice things others missed. One night, they traced a signal to the archives of memory, a vast underground library where the history of Valus was stored inside glowing crystal walls. As they entered, soft lights shimmered across the floor. The room smelled faintly of ozone and flowers. Leora moved between the tall data pillars while Aaron scanned the readings on his wristpad. "Strange," he muttered. "Someone's been here recently, within the last hour." Before she could reply, a faint sound echoed through the chamber. Footsteps. Leora raised her hand for silence. Together, they hid behind a crystal column. Two figures entered the hall. Their voices were low, but the crystals around them caught the sound, repeating it in a whisper. "The humans must leave," one voice said sharply. "The treaty is poison. Once the council signs, our world will never be ours again." Leora recognized the voice. It belonged to Lord Kalen, one of her father's oldest advisors. Her heart froze. Kalen continued. "Phase 2 begins tomorrow. The reactor codes are ready. The humans will take the blame." The second figure handed him a small device. "And the princess? Her loyalty will mean nothing once her people see her standing beside a human." Leora's eyes widened. She wanted to step forward to confront him, but Aaron gently touched her arm. His expression was calm but firm. "Not yet," he whispered. "If they know we're here, they'll vanish before we can prove anything." They waited until the conspirators left. Then Aaron retrieved the dropped crystal chip. "This may have what we need," he said. Back in the safety of the human quarters, they examined the chip. Inside were encrypted codes for the city's reactor grid, enough to cause a disaster if triggered. Leora looked at him, her voice low. "If this reaches the public, it will destroy Valus. The people will panic." Aaron's reply was steady. "Then we make sure it never happens. But we'll need evidence that ties Kalen to the act." Leora paced the room. "He is powerful. The council will not believe me without proof." Aaron met her eyes. "Then we get it together." For a long moment, neither spoke. The quiet hum of machines filled the space. In that silence, something changed between them. They were no longer just a princess and a soldier. They were allies. The next day, the palace hosted another public event. Human and Volition scientists displayed new technology designed to combine both worlds' energy systems. Crowds gathered in the plaza to watch. Leora stood beside her father on the grand balcony. Aaron and his team scanned the area from the lower levels, watching for trouble. But beneath the surface of celebration, danger moved unseen. Aaron's communicator buzzed softly. His technician whispered, "Captain, there's an unauthorized power fluctuation in Sector 7, near the reactor conduit." His eyes narrowed. "Leora," he said quickly through his earpiece, "someone's activating the sabotage. Get your father to safety." Leora turned to her father. "Father, we must go, now." Before he could ask why, a deep vibration shook the ground. Lights flickered across the plaza. Screams echoed as people ran. Aaron sprinted toward the reactor access. His boots struck metal stairs as he descended into the glowing tunnels. Heat pressed around him like fire. In the distance, he saw Kalen's guards trying to start the overload. He shouted, "Stop!" and fired his stun rifle. Energy bolts flashed blue. One guard fell. Another ran. Aaron reached the control panel and tore out the power core, shutting it down seconds before it reached meltdown. When he looked up, Kalen stood behind him holding a weapon. "You don't belong here. Human," Kalen hissed. "Valus will never kneel to your kind." Aaron didn't flinch. "Then prove it through peace, not chaos," Kalen sneered and fired. The shot grazed Aaron's arm, sending sparks flying. Before Kalen could shoot again, a crystal disc flew through the air and struck his hand. Leora stood at the entrance, guards behind her. "It's over, Kalen," she said firmly. "We have your codes and your confession." Kalen glared at her. "You would betray your own blood for them?" She lifted her chin. "I would protect both worlds." The guards surrounded him. Aaron leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Leora rushed to him. "You're hurt." "Just a scratch," he said with a faint smile. That night, the palace was quiet again. Kalen and his followers were taken away. The reactors were stable. The treaty was safe for now. Leora stood in the courtyard watching the stars. Aaron joined her, his arm bandaged. You could have died, she said softly. He chuckled. You saved me first this time, she smiled faintly. Perhaps we're even. They stood in silence, listening to the wind move through the glowing trees. Captain, she said after a while, I never believed peace could come from trust. But you've shown me it can come from courage. Aaron looked at her, his eyes reflecting the starlight. Peace always begins with someone brave enough to trust first. Leora turned her gaze to the horizon where the suns were setting. For the first time in her life, she felt hope, not forced by duty, but born from something real. And deep in her heart, she realized the truth she had never wanted to face. Her world was changing, and so was she. The morning sun bathed Valus Prime in soft gold. The palace towers glistened like crystal in the light, but inside tension lingered. The failed sabotage of the reactors had shaken the council, and the whispers of rebellion still circulated quietly among the people. Princess Leora walked through the royal garden of winds, where silver leaves shimmered in the gentle breeze. Her mind was heavy. She had saved the city alongside Captain Aaron Holt, but she could not shake the feeling that the next threat was coming, and that it would be even more dangerous. Aaron walked beside her, his human armor replaced by casual Terran clothing. His calm presence gave her strength, but also confusion. The more time she spent with him, the more she saw humans not as enemies, but as allies, and perhaps something more. You've been quiet, Aaron said softly. Thinking about the council meeting? Leora shook her head. Not just the council. About the future. About the treaty, about you. Aaron paused, his brow furrowing slightly. Me? She nodded, avoiding his eyes. I did not expect a human to act as you did. To risk everything for Velis, for me. It makes me question what I believed for so long. Aaron looked away, as if considering his words carefully. We all have a choice, Princess. Fear keeps people divided. Courage, true courage, can unite them. She let his words sink in. They were simple, yet powerful. Simple enough for a child to understand, yet heavy enough to change the mind of a princess. Later that day, the council gathered in the crystal chamber, a grand hall where every wall reflected light like water. King Arian Valician presided over the meeting, his long silver robes flowing. Leora entered quietly and sat at the edge, watching her father carefully. Aaron was present as a human observer, standing with his team near the entrance. Some council members looked at him with suspicion, though none dared to speak openly. Princess Leora, the king began, we have reason to believe that remnants of the extremist faction are plotting again. We must remain vigilant. One of the councillors, Lord Trevin, spoke next. Your Majesty, Captain Holt's presence is troubling to some. Humans have caused great suffering. Should we not limit his access to sensitive information? Leora's heart raced. She had seen Aaron risk his life for her and her people. Limiting his role now would make no sense. Yet she knew how fragile the trust was. King Arian's voice was firm. Captain Holt has proven his loyalty. He will remain as part of our security oversight. Do not mistake caution for disloyalty. Whispers filled the room. Leora's gaze met Aaron's. He gave her a small, reassuring nod. After the council meeting, Leora found Aaron in the archives of memory, reviewing the recovered crystal chip from Kalen. You were right, she said quietly. The device contained codes for the reactor. It could have destroyed Velis and the people would have blamed humans. Aaron looked up, and we stopped it. That is what matters, Leora studied him. I've always believed humans were reckless, untrustworthy. But you are patient, careful, and brave. Brave in a way that terrifies me. Aaron smiled faintly. Perhaps bravery is just doing what's right, even when it scares you. She nodded slowly. There was more to say, but she could not. Not yet. That night, Leora went to the royal meditation hall, a quiet chamber filled with glowing stones that changed color with emotion. She had brought Aaron here at her father's request, partially to recover after the attack, and partially to speak freely. Princess, Aaron said softly as he entered, the extremists may try something again soon. We need a plan. She sat down on the floor, her eyes reflecting the soft lights. I know, but I am afraid. Not just for the city, but for what I feel. Aaron knelt beside her, close enough for warmth, but careful to give space. You can trust me, Leora. Tell me what you feel. She hesitated. I fear that I am changing, that I am starting to believe humans can be more than enemies, that I care for you, And that frightens me more than any battle ever could. Aaron's expression softened. Emotions are not weakness. They are proof of life, of hope, of connection. What you feel is natural. For a long moment they sat together, silent except for the soft hum of the meditation stones. Leora felt something she had never felt before. Acceptance, not judgment. Understanding, not fear. The next day, the palace received a warning. A Valesian scout reported unusual activity near the outer ring, a sector of the city far from the central towers. Could it be the extremists? Leora asked, her voice tight with worry. Aaron nodded. It seems so. And it's serious. The pattern matches Kalen's plan. Small, targeted sabotage intended to create panic and distrust. Leora squared her shoulders. Then we must act, together. Aaron studied her, admiration clear in his eyes. Lead the way, princess. They traveled to the outer ring with a small team of Valesian guards and Terran soldiers. The streets were quiet, but tension hung thick in the air. Holographic signs flickered as if sensing the unease. Aaron scanned the area. There's a device ahead, motion sensitive. We'll need to approach carefully. Leora nodded. She drew on her training, moving silently with the guards. When they reached the target building, they discovered several small bombs hidden in the walls. This is Kalen's work, Leora whispered. He wants to destroy trust. Aaron knelt and examined the devices. I can disarm them, but you need to cover me. Leora stepped forward with a small Valesian shield, protecting him from sensors. As Aaron worked with precision, she realized how much she relied on him, not just for protection, but for guidance, for calm, for courage. Seconds felt like hours, but finally Aaron finished. The devices were disarmed. Leora exhaled. We did it. Aaron smiled, brushing a speck of dust from his uniform. We did, together. Later, in the palace gardens, Leora and Aaron walked alone. The city lights reflected in the water of floating fountains. Captain, she said softly. I never wanted to admit it, but I see the strength in humanity now. Not in conquest, not in weapons, but in character. Courage, loyalty, compassion, you've shown me that. Aaron looked at her, his expression serious. Humans are not perfect, princess. But we have the capacity to grow, to change, to protect what is right, she met his eyes. And you have shown me that trust can exist between worlds, that perhaps one day we can unite without fear. Aaron nodded slowly. That day will come. But it begins with small steps, with courage, with choices we make now. For the first time, Leora felt the weight of hope, not just duty. Her heart still feared betrayal, but it also longed for connection, for understanding, for the possibility of a future she had never imagined. That night, as Velis Prime rested under twin moons, Leora stood on her balcony thinking of the events of the past days. The extremists had failed, but their shadow lingered. She could feel it. A quiet warning that the next challenge would be harder. Aaron joined her quietly, standing beside her. The city sleeps peacefully tonight, he said. Leora nodded. For now. But we must be ready. And I must be ready to lead and to face my feelings. Aaron glanced at her, his voice gentle. Whatever comes, you will not be alone. She looked out at the glowing towers and the distant stars. For the first time, she felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. Fear for the challenges ahead, and excitement for the future, one that included both her people and the humans she had once feared. And deep down, she realized that the soldier at her side was no longer just a protector. He was someone who had changed her world and perhaps her heart as well. The morning on Velis Prime began like any other, with sunlight spilling across silver towers and golden plazas. But the calm was an illusion. Deep in the shadows of the outer ring, the extremists had gathered once more, their fleet of small ships and drones ready to strike. Princess Leora stood on her balcony, looking toward the horizon. The memory of previous sabotage lingered in her mind, but she refused to let fear take hold. She had learned courage, and more importantly, she had learned trust. Captain Aaron Holt was at her side, scanning the skies with a Terran sensor. Princess, he said, we have reports of multiple unidentified craft approaching. It looks like a coordinated attack, Leora's heart clenched. The extremists, Kalen's faction, she whispered. They are not finished. Aaron placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We'll stop them, together. The royal alarms rang suddenly, their shrill tones echoing through the palace. Citizens poured into the streets, frightened by the flashing red lights and booming sirens. Leora moved quickly to the defense command hall. where her father, King Arian Valesian, and council members gathered. The room was a hive of activity, with holographic maps showing approaching enemy ships. Aaron and his Terran team stood at the ready. "The fleet is smaller than ours," he reported, "but they are fast and unpredictable. Their plan is to strike the palace directly and force the signing of the treaty to collapse." King Arian's face was grave. "Then we protect the palace and our people. Princess Leora, you must remain calm. Your people will look to you for courage." Leora nodded, her violet eyes firm. "I will, father." As the first drones reached the palace perimeter, Aaron led a squad of Terran and Valesian guards. Their weapons glowed with plasma light as they intercepted the attackers. Leora followed behind, directing palace defense systems. Her fingers danced over the control panels, rerouting shields, activating energy barriers, and coordinating evacuation routes for civilians. From the balconies, people watched in awe. A human soldier fought alongside Valesian guards, moving with precision and bravery. Sparks flew as energy weapons clashed, and the drones exploded in bursts of fire and light. For the first time, many citizens of Velis saw that humans could be heroes, not enemies. In the main courtyard, a group of extremists had landed, attempting to reach the treaty chamber. Leora's personal guards met them, but they were outnumbered. Aaron charged forward, deflecting blasts with his energy shield while simultaneously guiding the Valesian soldiers. "Princess!" he shouted over the roar of battle. "Stay behind me!" Leora hesitated, but she knew she had to lead as well as fight. She activated a force barrier around the chamber door, blocking the extremists. Sparks and energy pulses flew as the attackers tried to break through. Aaron fought with remarkable skill, his human agility and training allowing him to anticipate every move. He disarmed multiple enemies with non-lethal strikes, ensuring that none of the palace's inhabitants were harmed. Meanwhile, Leora noticed a smaller ship heading straight for her father. Panic surged through her. "Aaron, over here!" she shouted. He turned instantly, sprinting across the courtyard. The ship fired a plasma beam at the king's balcony. Aaron leapt, using his shield to deflect the blast. He landed between the ship and the king, his body taking the impact. Sparks danced along his armor, but he stood firm. King Arian looked at Aaron with awe. "Human, you have saved my life again." Aaron, breathing heavily, simply nodded. "Your Majesty, protecting Velis is my duty." The battle continued for hours. The palace defenders, both Valesian and Terran, worked in perfect coordination. Leora directed energy turrets while communicating with Aaron and the field units. Every time a drone approached, Aaron intercepted it. Every time an extremist tried to sabotage the palace, Leora countered their moves with strategic precision. Through it all, the people of Velis watched from safe zones. Their fear slowly turned to wonder. Could humans truly be trusted? Could they really stand beside Valesians, not as conquerors but as allies? When the main rebel leader finally appeared on the battlefield, a former Valesian general named Kalen, the tension reached its peak. He wore dark armor and wielded a staff that emitted powerful energy pulses. His voice boomed across the courtyard. "Princess Leora, you would betray your own people by standing with these humans?" Leora stepped forward, her voice steady. "I stand with those who protect Velis, not those who wish to destroy it." "Your time is over, Kalen." Kalen sneered and fired a blast at her. Leora's shield barely blocked it. Aaron jumped in, deflecting the energy with his own shield and closing the distance. Together they fought. Aaron's skill and courage complemented Leora's strategic mind. They moved in harmony, each protecting the other. Slowly, Kalen's forces were pushed back. Finally, Kalen's staff was knocked from his hands. Aaron grabbed him, restraining him while Leora activated the palace force fields to trap the remaining extremists. "Your fight is over," Leora said firmly. "You will answer for your crimes." The defeated rebels were taken into custody. The city, which had feared chaos, now felt a wave of relief. The people cheered not only for their princess but also for the human soldier who had fought bravely at her side. After the battle, Leora found Aaron standing alone in the courtyard, his armor scorched but intact. She approached him, her heart filled with gratitude. "You risked everything," she said softly. "For me, for my father, for Velis." Aaron shook his head, brushing off the praise. "I did what anyone should do. Protect those who cannot protect themselves." Leora looked at him, her violet eyes reflecting the lights of the city. "No, you did more than that. You showed my people and me that humans can be trusted, that we can unite without fear." Aaron met her gaze, and for a brief moment silence spoke louder than words. They had fought together, saved lives together, and changed hearts together. Later, in the palace gardens, the twin moons rose above the city. Leora and Aaron walked slowly side by side. The battle had ended, but the emotions of the day lingered. "You were incredible," Leora admitted, her voice quiet. "Not just as a soldier, but as someone I can rely on." Aaron smiled faintly. "You were incredible too, Princess. Your people are lucky to have you leading them." She hesitated, then said softly, I no longer fear humans the way I once did, but I still fear the future, because it is uncertain and because it changes me in ways I cannot predict." Aaron reached for her hand. "The future is uncertain for everyone, but we face it together. That is what matters." Her heart skipped. The warmth of his hand was simple yet powerful. She had never imagined that a human could make her feel this way, calm, safe, and inspired all at once. The citizens of Velis Prime celebrated long into the night. From balconies, they watched as the palace was illuminated with energy fields, marking victory over the extremists. Many whispered about Aaron, the human who had fought alongside their princess. Some were still cautious, but most began to understand that the humans could be allies, and maybe even friends. Leora stood on her balcony looking at the stars. The twin moons reflected in her eyes, and she thought about the journey ahead. Challenges would come, she knew. Threats would rise. But tonight, trust had been built, courage had been shown, and bonds had been formed. And deep in her heart, she realized that the soldier at her side had changed not only the course of the battle, but the course of her life and perhaps the future of her entire world. The morning after the battle was calm, almost unreal. The streets of Velis Prime glimmered with dew and the lingering energy from the palace shields. Citizens emerged slowly from their homes, cautious but curious. Word had spread quickly about the heroics of Captain Aaron Holt, the human who had fought alongside the princess. Princess Leora Velician stood on the palace balcony, watching the people below. Their faces were a mix of awe and disbelief. Many still carried the weight of fear, but now it was mingled with hope. She turned to King Arion, who stood beside her, tall and dignified as ever. "Father," she said softly, "they are beginning to see the truth, that humans are not just visitors. They can be our allies, our friends, maybe even more." The king nodded. "Yes, Leora, and your courage has shown them that unity is possible. Your choice to stand with Aaron to fight for peace has changed Velis forever." Her violet eyes brightened. "I hope it will last." Inside the palace, preparations were underway for the formal signing of the treaty between Velis and Earth. The council had approved it unanimously after the battle, inspired by the bravery and trust shown by humans and Velisians alike. Aaron moved among the officials, coordinating security and logistics. He glanced at Leora from across the room, noting her calm yet determined expression. She had grown so much in the past days, not just as a leader, but as someone capable of embracing change, of seeing beyond fear and prejudice. When Leora approached him, she handed him a small ceremonial pin, the emblem of Velis Prime, symbolizing honor and trust. "You earned this, Captain Holt," she said, "for saving the palace, protecting my people, and for showing me that humans can be trusted." Aaron accepted it humbly. "Thank you, Princess. I only did what I thought was right." Leora smiled faintly. "Right is sometimes all we have, and courage is the bridge between worlds." The plaza was filled with citizens and diplomats. Holographic banners floated in the air, displaying images of Velisian and Terran symbols intertwined. The twin moons shone brightly above, reflecting in the crystal towers. King Arion began the ceremony. "Today we witness a new chapter, a chapter of unity between Velis Prime and Earth, a chapter where fear no longer divides us, and courage and trust guide our way." Aaron stood beside the king, representing humanity, while Leora represented Velis. The crowd watched as the two leaders signed the treaty together. The holographic projection above the plaza shimmered with light, showing the two species united for the first time in history. The citizens erupted in applause. Cheers and laughter filled the air. Many Velisians looked at Aaron with respect and gratitude, realizing that one human soldier had changed their world. After the ceremony, Leora led Aaron to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons bathed them in soft light. She turned to him, her voice gentle. "Captain Holt," she said, "I want to thank you. not just for what you did in battle, but for what you have shown me. That courage and compassion can cross worlds. That fear is a choice, and trust is stronger. Aaron looked at her, a soft smile on his face. Princess, you've shown me the same thing. That leaders must listen to their people, but also to their hearts. That hope is as powerful as any weapon. For a long moment they stood together, silent. The city below was alive with celebration, but up here there was only peace. Later, Leora gathered with her council and advisors to discuss the next steps. The treaty included trade agreements, shared research projects, and cultural exchanges between Veles and Earth. Human technology will help rebuild our cities, Leora explained. But our knowledge of energy and biology can help their worlds too. Together we can achieve more than either of our peoples could alone. Aaron listened, nodding, and together we'll protect that future. Whatever challenges come, we face them as allies. A Velesian elder stepped forward, bowing. Princess, your courage and the actions of Captain Holt have shown our people the path forward. We are proud of this union and proud of you both. Leora felt a warm sense of accomplishment. The city was no longer divided. The people's fear had been replaced by hope, respect, and a new understanding. Days passed and Veles Prime slowly returned to normal. Children played in the streets. Citizens traded goods and stories. And humans and Velesians walked together as equals. Leora often found herself near Aaron, whether in planning sessions or quiet walks through the palace gardens. Their connection had grown deeper. It was no longer just trust, it was friendship, respect, and a subtle, unspoken bond. One evening, as the twin moons reflected on the fountains, Leora spoke softly. Captain Holt, do you ever wonder what comes next? After battles, after treaties, after all of this? Aaron looked at her. Every day. But I know this. We've started something important, and we will continue it together. Leora's heart fluttered. She had once feared humans, feared their strength, feared their unpredictability. Now she realized that their courage complemented hers, that their differences made them stronger together. The people of Veles Prime held a celebration in honor of the new alliance. Citizens lined the streets waving banners that displayed the emblems of both worlds. Music filled the air, and holographic fireworks painted the sky with brilliant colors. Aaron and Leora walked among the people, smiling and greeting them. Children ran up to touch his armor and ask questions about Earth. Leora answered proudly, explaining the alliance and the lessons learned from courage and trust. Elders spoke of history, of the war, and how one human soldier had changed everything. The message spread quickly. Humans could be heroes, not enemies. That night in a quiet garden, Leora and Aaron stood together, watching the twin moons. The city lights reflected in their eyes. You've changed my world, Leora said softly. And in doing so, you've changed me. Aaron reached for her hand. And you've changed mine, Princess. You've taught me the value of courage, of hope, and of trust. For the first time, Leora felt no fear, not of humans, not of change, not of the future. She realized that her heart could embrace the unknown, and that courage was not just in battle but in openness, understanding, and trust. The stars above twinkled, as if witnessing the birth of a new era. The union of Veles and Earth was no longer a distant dream. It was real. Days later, the palace held a formal reception to honor those who had defended the city. Aaron received the highest honors Veles could bestow on a non-citizen. Leora stood beside him, proud and radiant. King Arian spoke to the crowd. Let today be remembered not for war, but for courage. Let it remind all of us that one brave individual can change the hearts of many. Let it remind us that trust and unity are the true strength of our worlds. The crowd erupted in applause. Leora looked at Aaron, and for the first time she smiled freely. The fear she had felt, fear of humans, fear of change, was gone. In the quiet of the night, Leora and Aaron returned to the balcony. The twin moons reflected softly on the fountains below. I once feared humans, Leora admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But now, I see the courage, the loyalty, the honor. I see the strength of a heart willing to risk everything for peace. Aaron smiled, taking her hand. And I see a leader willing to embrace change, to fight for what is right, and to trust beyond fear. That is true courage, Princess. They stood together side by side, looking out at the city that had survived chaos and had emerged stronger, united and hopeful. The suns would rise again, threats would come, but they had learned that courage, trust, and unity could overcome any obstacle. And in that moment, Leora knew that her world and her heart were ready for the future. Together they had changed everything.